Diary, hello, it is the middle of May 2025. I feel like this is a second recording in my rave and rant series about the Honor 200 Lite phone. So I'm going to try and convince you by the end of this video that it's a fantastic phone, and for the money, and that's a very key consideration, for the money, it's just a buy. So let's start off with the money, shall we? This is selling on Amazon for £150. So by the time you've added a quality case, it does come with a screen protector, but you could buy, a fancier glass, thicker glass screen protector, let's say. Comes with a USB-C cable, but if you buy a USB-C to USB-C cable and a PD35 charger, you're probably looking at about £200 all in from Amazon Prime. This phone is outgoing. They've had a 300 series, but we're now up to the 400 series, and that phone starts at about £300. So basically, the base price is double the price of the outgoing 200 Lite. So we're going to look at what the 400 Lite, which is not quite shipping in the UK yet, but will be by the end of May, gives you over the 200 Lite, and is it worth it? And of course, I have a reference phone, which is my lovely iPhone. This is a 15 Pro, which when I bought it cost about £1,200. So in other words, this phone was £1,000 more expensive than this phone, and obviously, on a pound for pound basis, the Honor phone wins. But the question is, how many sacrifices do you have to make? And for me, as a non-gamer, is it just okay? And the answer is, it's very okay. So let's just have a quick look again. We can look at the first two columns. The third column is for the Honor 400 phone, which is not even announced yet. But if you look on the right as we scroll through, you'll see what GSM Arena, which is a cracking website, by the way, it's what GSM Arena thinks the 400 specs will be when it is released. So 200 Lite is just going to be going out of production soon. The 400 Lite is not quite shipping, will ship by the end of May 2025. So we start off with the networking. You'll notice that both phones are 5G. This is a 5G phone, and the 400 Lite does not show any improvement over the existing 200 Lite. I've had speeds of hundreds of megabits per second on its 5G connection in my hometown of Ulster in England, because we have a mast that's literally on my way to where I teach. So yeah, it does fine on 5G, if you can find a decent 5G connection, of course. The phone is just over a year old, and that's the way things are these days. It is an absolutely astonishingly thin phone. So I've got this lovely, I think it says military spec, carbon fibre-esque looking like cover. And even with that on, it's a very, very thin phone. So there's a new iPhone coming out, and I'd be very surprised if it's much thinner than 6.8 millimeters. And the new phone the 400 Lite is fatter. It's also a bonkersly light phone. It's so light and so thin. If you were to wear it naked without the case, it would just be a dream to carry. I'm in a case because I live in the real world, and I'm bound to drop it. It's a dual SIM phone, but it doesn't support eSIM, so that's a big negative if you really want eSIMs. So okay, but it is a dual SIM phone. It's also an AMOLED display phone, which is great. The new 400 Lite is apparently 120 Hz and 3,500 nits. I'm sure that the current phone is not 3,500 nits. But that's a peak brightness, and this phone, to be honest, it's very bright. And because it's AMOLED, the colours are very sharp. 6.7 inches. There's not much of a. Again, it's on all the time so quickly, but there's no chins to speak of, and there is an Apple-esque like a little island here which grows large. If I start Spotify, Can I show that fact? So I started Spotify, and if I was to play something, I don't want to get into a copyright, so well, let's go, not quite go there, but if you see that the size of the notch has grown, and there's like an Apple-esque little icon, which is the Spotify. If I click on it, so the screen is absolutely fine. One big downside is you're stuck on Android 14. Honor is terrible at upgrading its operating systems on its phones. I would very much doubt I'll ever see Android 15 on this phone. But to be honest, the apps still work. With older releases of Android, you can still run all the latest apps. And Android 14 is, quote, only 2 years old. It's disappointing it's 14. Obviously, the new phone's got 15, but then 16's out soon, so they've missed a trick again. It's an octa-core CPU. As a non-gamer, this CPU is absolutely fine. I have never seen it stutter. The new phone has got fractionally faster performance. Oh, I've done some Geekbenching, and is it on the screen? Yes. So the Geekbench 6 result, I hope you can see that. It's 766 and about 2000. And I've looked up the Geekbenches of the new phone. The new phone is about 955 and 2300, so it's at least 10% faster. And just for comparison purposes, I'd throw in the iPhone now. The iPhone makes these phones look like that they're walking. I mean, it's absolutely how Apple, with a single company, can outpace the rest of the industry has always been a mystery to me. But they're up at 3,000 for single core scores, and I'm down at 766 on this poor guy. So yeah, that's not so impressive. Where's my video gone here? View. Right, I think we're going to be back in a second properly. Okay, so we are back in sync. So where are we? We've got the Android. We're stuck on Android 14. That is disappointing. Speed, absolutely no problem. This phone, for that budget price, comes with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage, which is a hell of a lot. And that's a lot of photos and videos. Really a lot. That is the same spec as my iPhone 15 Pro, has only got 56 gigs. The camera is a bit of a disappointment. It has big megapixel numbers, but poor specifications in practice, poor actually photos in practice. I think I did a test at the National Trust this weekend gone, and we did a lot of shooting, and I was trying to use the wide angle, well, the main lens here, this 108 megapixel lens, but I often couldn't quite get the shot in, so I thought I'd go to the ultra wide, not realising till I got back home that I was using a 5 megapixel photo, which I then cropped. So a lot of the photos I took at the weekend were rubbish, and even the ones I did take with the 108 megapixel camera turned out a bit over sharpened, I would say. So that's when you bump the contrast up and you can sort of see the lines around everything. It looks a bit fake. I'm a member of the Google Advanced Protection Program, which means to say I've been trying to install the Google Camera Port, but I can't do that on this phone. And so, believe it or not, I have another phone, because I think this phone is so special. I bought a spare phone, and I'm going to reinstall this with just a bog standard Gmail ID, and then I'm going to find a Gcam, which I hope works with Honor, which if you search is quite a problem. So in the Google Cam, in the Gcam industry, which has grown up around Android, where people take the code for Google Camera and port it to a specific non-Google phone platform, Honor is very badly represented. So if you've got a Samsung phone, you've got a really good chance. You'll say, for this Samsung phone, you need this Google Camera port. But for Honor, it's, I don't know. The front camera is a massive 50 megapixels. I've never had to really comment on the camera to say that it just takes, I'm not a big selfie taker, so it takes good selfies. That's all I can say. No headphone jack I wouldn't expect there to be. It's decently loud. If you want to sound like a child walking down the street with headphone blaring, loudspeaker blaring, you can certainly do that. There is no, going on to communications, there is no Wi-Fi 6, which is a big shame. Having said that, the speed can easily get past 300 megabits per second. So for me, when I take a photograph and I'm synchronizing that photograph, I'm synchronizing up via Microsoft OneDrive or Photos from Amazon, and that happens at over 300 megabits per second uplink. So, do I need faster? Not really. You know, for pub bragging rights, it would be great. But when's the last time you visited a pub and got more than 300 megabits per second download speed? Oh, and certainly didn't need 300 megabits per second plus download speed. Bluetooth's up at 5.1 and on the new phones at 5.3. I don't know what the difference in specs are, but Bluetooth 5 low power mode is great, and at least when it's at 5, I don't really care. NFC, yes, I've been using it for the last week or two with credit cards stored on the phone. Works absolutely no problem. I have noticed, of course, that with an Android phone, when you are using it to make a payment or you're on the tube, you don't need, unfortunately, like you do in Mr. Apple World. In the Apple World, you can have a shortcut of double pressing the power button to get your cards up. But you can't just go and bung your phone onto a reader. Whereas with an Android phone with the NFC set onto on, you don't need to get up the wallet. You can just take your phone and place it next to the NFC reader, and it automatically goes to the card. And something I'd quite forgotten. So actually using this phone for card payments has been better than using my Apple phone for the last couple of weeks. USB connections, there is a Type-C connection. You get a USB-A to USB-C cable, so I would not use that. I'd buy USB-C to USB-C cable, and you'd buy a PD charger, and you can charge at 35 watts wired. You only will get USB Type 2 speed on this device, which is why whenever I synchronize photographs or any kind of media, I do it wirelessly. I do not use the wire. The battery is big, but the new phone has got an even bigger battery. And the rumoured 400, the non-Lite version, has got this new silicon battery, but we have to see if that's actually going to come or not. So that's the end of the review. Oh no, there's one more thing. It's a side-mounted fingerprint reader, and I find that very useful. I far prefer it to the previous generation. It may have got better. I don't have a better experience so far. All the people that come in with smartphone problems in my weekly class seem to have got old Samsung phones and old Google phones, and they are just atrocious when it comes to under-screen fingerprint reader. So for me, the side-mounted fingerprint reader here on the power button is fantastic. So I far prefer that to a half-working, well, when under a glass screen protector, under-screen fingerprint reader. Comes in a few different colours, but of course you've got a case on, so I just do not care. But the colour of this is the starry blue. It's very nice, I like it, but it's hidden because it's in a case. Of course it's in a case. So there we have it. Is it worth upgrading from your £150 phone to a £300 phone? The increments are minuscule to the 400 Lite, and the better phone, the regular 400, is going to be at least €500, they reckon. So what are you getting in the new phone? You're getting a fractionally faster processor. You're actually getting a worse camera setup. Maybe the software is better, but the megapixels is certainly worse. You're getting a heavier phone. You're getting a fatter phone. So all in all, it's not a clear. Oh, the new phone's got this must-have feature. The new phone hasn't got any really must-have feature, maybe apart from eSIMs, and in the UK certainly they're not a really big thing. So yeah, the old 200 Lite phone, for me, it's still a winner. Now this is actually a rave review, but I'm going to turn it into a last minute rant, which is that I have a dear friend who wants a new phone, and I said to them, this is the phone for you. I'll buy you a new phone. I'll transfer all your stuff over from you. Their phone is so old, it doesn't do 4G. And they said to me, I'll think about it. And they've just come back to me this evening saying, I found an Honor phone for £70 at Amazon, and why would I get your £150 phone? And I'm saying, because this £150 phone easily competes with a £300 mid-range phone, whereas your £70 Honor find on your first Google or first search on Amazon does not. So sometimes you just can't get people to spend even £150 on a phone. But I really think if you do have that, what I consider to be a tiny amount of money for a smartphone in 2025, this really is a very, very decent phone to buy. I hope I rest my case, and I hope I've convinced you. And if you get it from Amazon, you've got 30 days to not like it, and if you don't like it, you can just send it back. So I would go for it. Thanks for watching.